What I need luck for? You don't need luck if you forge your own destiny. Majid.
You don't need luck if
no,
you
this
make
is
your
a
own
man that
destiny.
forges his own destiny.
Still don't need luck? Maybe luck, huh?
Hey, hi, I haven't seen you in a while, Edward. What's going on?
Oh, not much. I've been just cleaning, on the weekend and studying for my certification. And I've been paying bills. I hate paying bills. I got everything on auto pay except this one credit card that just won't go on auto pay for me. And it's a pain in the ass. I hate paying bills. I don't mind transferring the money if it's done automatically, but having to sit down and actually do it every month, I hate doing it.
Especially when it could be automated. That's just, because we're so used to like precise, quick service that.
If El Normo's not there, there's like no reason to be there. It's even more boring. So we're gonna take us back to Andrew's God Talk. We're gonna go outside and do some landscaping. So exciting. Then I'm gonna take a shower and probably swipe right on Hinge if I try to get a date. This girl that I was trying to see, I don't think she's interested in seeing me again, so time to move on. Let go of your memories in the past and try to enjoy life again. Let's see. Should I just leave us on Daraj?
To finding out who we really are and finding that true inner peace may take a little longer than it has to. And some people will never find that peace because they're not being true to themselves. You have to learn to start taking some time out for you. And one thing about it, which you will realize in the end.
Sorry, what did you say?
You can't divorce the two. So it's like I'm understanding phenomenal states as functional.
We're analytical.
No, not analytically. I mean, because we're still in the synthetic realm here. We're still saying the identity is synthetic, right? But we're saying like when we're fixing the metaphysical item that secures the identity, when we say that item satisfies a phenomenal concept, right? It's like pain. Right. I wanted to address because you had said it sounds like it's illusionism at that point. But I just want to say that like if what you're rejecting as an illusionist just is like the intrinsic nature of phenomenal states, right? If that's it, and yeah, I do agree with that. I still think that phenomenal states can be understood as phenomenal states without intrinsic nature.
Okay, so what do you take phenomenal states to be? So sorry, I'm probably not enough. I think the discussion and abstract.
No, that's okay. I mean, I would probably. I'm fine with the way that you and I were talking about it earlier today, where you just pick them out via ostension. Like I don't have necessary conditions for you. They're a kind of experiential mental state, and I also think that they're physical, right? So like I can say those kinds of things about it.
Or could you say, okay, if all you're willing to say about them is just like I'm picking them out by assumption. Like, so do you have some further theoretical commitments about them, or is that all just gonna be like, okay, and they are like brain things and so on? So then I do think that is literally just illusionism.
Yeah, no. Again, like I'm not trying to say like depending on how you characterize illusionism, maybe I am an illusionist, right? But like the way that I like to talk about it anyway is to say that there are phenomenal states. Like so we could just be talking cross purposes.
Right, so we both agree, all parties to the dispute agree that there is some like natural feature shared by some states that we can denote by just list examples of them. Right? So it's like, okay, there's something that's naturally in common between like visual, auditory, and other modes of perception, between like pain states, just like I don't know, imagining things, dreaming, right? And that's not had by like being blackout drunk and by being under total anesthesia and by circulating movements. There's some
Wait, don't mistake. Because some of the, like, okay, I think people who are blackout drunk actually may have like immediate phenomenal states, but they just.
I just mean like people who are like unconscious from drinking alcohol.
Yeah, if you're like.
But yeah, I mean, if that's gonna be a problem, let's just show that example.
It just gets tricky because
being under total anesthesia, being in a total coma.
Sure.
Okay. And it's like, you know, like the illusionist is saying, okay, another like feature of these states is that people are disposed to assign these very special features to them, like going beyond extractual properties, having some sort of intrinsic character, and like privileged access, simplicity. There's a bunch more, which is a good idea.
Yeah, a lot of that.
And the other thing I want to say is that, like, okay, we are disposed to make those reports, but those reports are not veridical. So just like, I mean, what do you want to say about those things? What other commitments are you making?
I do agree with the illusionist about things like metaphysical privacy being wrong or illusory. Like, now as far as like privileged access goes, that one is a little bit tricky. So like, depending on what you mean by privileged access, there might be a
I actually can't hear you right now. Sorry, give me a second.
Okay. Wait, what'd you say you're making? You're making pizza? No, she still can't hear.
I was just looking at the Mahdi's Manifesto. Has anyone heard of it?
No, what is it?
Or no, like no.
Apparently there's a guy claiming to be the Mahdi, and he's put out a manifesto.
Oh, I thought you meant Mahdi, like,
Just lazy. Not a real Maddie.
Oh wait, was I? Sorry, I thought I was muted.
I was just waiting. Yeah, I didn't hear you say it.
No, but did you guys hear my blender go? Or?
A little bit.
Oh, okay, that's unfortunate.
It wasn't that bad.
Sorry, I said it. Okay, well that's good. That's very positive.
So, I mean, I'm gonna agree with some of what the illusionist has to say about, like, the, like, if you want to talk about things like the metaphysical privacy of the mental, or, like, privileged access, there's, like, some stuff where I think, depending on what you mean by, like, privileged access, that there could be some kind of, like, privilege, but not, like, a robust kind of, like, privacy level, you know what I'm saying? So, like, you're situated.
Well, just I'm asking, like, do you have any commitment that would distinguish you from the illusions?
Yeah, I'm trying to get.
Like,
I'm saying there's something that I'm going to agree with, but as far as like the sort of the meta level of it, where they want to say that a phenomenal state like a pain state, right? That doesn't really exist, and I guess like if what what you're denying. Like, you could be the kind of illusionist who's denying things that I agree I also deny. You know what I mean?
Well, just like, I don't want to get into like the dispute, but like just, what I'm denying, or anyway, like, I mean, I'm not sure if I'm an illusionist anymore, but like, what an illusionist would be denying about the thing is just like, okay, clearly there is just like the functional thing. You can all agree on that. And there's something that's like a category that pain seems to fall into. It's just like, what most people would think of phenomenal states. Pain seems to fall into that category. And then it's like we're disposed to, on reflection, make certain reports about those states. And the illusionists say those reports are not veridical. That these reports are like non-physicality, non-structurality, intrinsicness, simplicity, privileged access. That's what they're doing. It's like a must.
Yeah.
You like
I did
that.
I agree with them on all those points, barring like how exactly what's meant by privileged access, because there's going to be some senses of privileged access that I would accept, but the place where I think
it would just make it easier for you to have introspective access, but like it's not just like you have access to unmarked reality that no matter like what anyone else does, you will be like getting a special look at.
Right. Yeah. So I deny like the kind of robust metaphysical privacy of the mental. And the thing that I think I diverge with the illusionist on is the following. So I think that the phenomenal state, like if I have a pain state or something like that, or like visual phenomenology, right? I don't think that when I report of that what I'm describing isn't a real mental state that I have. I do think now here's what I do want to say though, is the difference is I think you could give, right, a completely apt description using only concepts that involves functional concepts, right? But the point is that it also satisfies other concept systems like the phenomenal concept system. So what I want to say is this, right? Like, you could talk about something just qua functional concepts, properties, whatever, property talk, quote unquote, right? I'm not reaffirming, right? But like, if you want to use property talk, you could talk about the thing in terms of its functional property, right? But then the idea is that those very same properties you can't go from just thinking of the statements that are true in one system, right, of concepts, and deduce the other. Right? But the thing does actually satisfy both. But the phenomenal concepts are not like these concepts you were just mentioning, like privacy and so on, right?
What's the content of the phenomenal concept?
Yeah, so the concept of the phenomenal concept is like redness or something like that, right? So like if you have like a red visual phenomenon, phenomenal concept is right? Or you could talk in terms of these phenomenal concepts like now on the equation, if like in evolutionary terms, like phenomenal states develop extreme forms of reward mechanisms. And the idea is that like it's supposed to be a
work.
The idea that thinking functions is a way of conceptualizing it's like,
Oh yeah, there we go.
in terms of
Oh yeah.
or you can think in terms of things like phenomenal concepts. And so the point is, it's the self-same thing that satisfies those different systems. So
The federal report today predicted possible catastrophic warming of the Earth by the 1990s with strong climate change.
Right. So it's the same thing that by both.
I mean,
But the scientists are telling us that we
well, it's fine that it satisfies both of them, but just like, I mean, you can have a case where like, but only one of First of all, it's like you want to say, okay, the content of this phenomenon is also not deny. I'm kind of not sure about
That's fair.
There's a second. I'm not necessarily.
Can I just say one thing about what you just said? Like, the features you mentioned before that the illusionists and those are natural right? So like they don't make the difference between like redness and pain, right? So like what I'm talking about when I say redness is like the thing that differentiates redness, like red or color phenomenology from like
Reminded myself.
I would just say that is some intrinsic character of red.
Oh, she's still blowing the kissy faces.
That's what I think.
Well,
Distinguishing it, and that's what you want to deny.
Oh, because she's still playing kissy face game.
well, I don't think that the point is that I don't think the thing that's doing the satisfaction
She's still playing
of the
kissy face
concepts
game.
has an intrinsic nature.
She's still playing kissy face
But what I'm
game.
saying is the thing that does the satisfaction of the concepts happens to satisfy multiple different kinds of concepts that are not like a priori reducible to one another. And so the idea is
Believe me, I plan on staying single.
Like, the phenomenal side of that.
no, but the point is that like what I want to say is that what seems to me that you say here when I offer this is that you say, okay, but like the property of the thing
Believe
that
me, I
satisfies
plan on
one
staying
concept
single and exploring.
is different from the property of the thing that satisfies some different concept, and that's where I kind of get off the.
I'm not saying
Plan on
one
staying
thing
single this year and
satisfies
exploring the
both
beach in
properties.
my boat.
It's only one of those properties that does the puzzle.
Well, no. So the point is that like there are like
Season
causal
number 3.
concepts, right? And so when you want to think about
Believe me, I
things in
plan on
causal
staying
terms,
single this year and
those are
exploring
the
the
concepts
beach in my boat. Season
Yeah.
3.
But you're still thinking about the same thing when you think about it in terms of other concepts. And so like let me think about how to phrase this.
She wants to just use my body.
There are distinctions within this thing
I
such
should
that
put it. She can have
one
that. She can have.
aspect of it satisfies
can have
the
it.
phenomenal concept, and a separate aspect of
But
it,
if she wants
which is
to-
causally
just-
efficacious,
She
satisfies like,
wants
the
to
physical
just use my
concepts, right?
body.
But the idea is that it's literally the same thing
She can
that's
have
doing
it.
the satisfaction.
She can have it.
That's fine, but I don't think that means that both of them are doing the puzzle.
I guess I just.
It's like,
No, but the thing that does the causal work just is that one thing.
I guess I just need to schedule. If she wants to just use my body as she put it, she can have it. I guess I just need to schedule a day in advance.
Yeah,
She's still playing kissy face game. Believe me, I put a thing
I'm denying that like properties are real, right? So like I'm only using property talk.
it's like, okay, like, however you rephrase it, it's like, if there are two aspects to that thing, and I can see how one of these aspects is causally efficacious. I have no idea how the other is supposed to be causally efficacious.
Right, and that's because one of them to the causal. Sorry, I think just switch. One of them relates to like the causal system of concepts, and the other it just conceptually doesn't.
Maybe let's just do this thing. You agree that
Please don't scroll. I'm just.
Hey, seriously, there's not an identity between the concepts, right? There's just. This, yeah, that's satisfying.
they're the same thing, but yeah, all the theory says initially is just the extension of the phenomenal concept is going to be the same as the extension of the
Just
functional
playing
concept.
kissy face game, but believe me, I
Whatever
promise
those
you
come,
this year.
right? The theory initially doesn't make this claim, and then lo and behold, we find ourselves in
Well, which theory?
a very nice match between the phenomenal concepts, like harmonizing with the functional concepts, that they happen to be coextensible. Right? And that, that is surprising, honestly. That's like very surprising.
No. So that's why. So what we've been talking about is like point 1 in the DM that I sent you, and then the point 2 is trying to address some of that latter stuff, the stuff about the fortuitousness of the identity, where I'm talking about like reward mechanisms, right? Like, so that's where I'm trying to address that point. I'm saying like, okay, in evolutionary terms or in like mechanistic terms, right? Phenomenal states which have like positive valence, say like pleasure, or like phenomenal states with negative valence, say like pain, are an extreme.
Like functional.
One more time.
Valence there is functional.
No, I'm using this in the sense of like the field, the phenomenal field.
I don't think evolution cares about.
No, but that's where I'm trying to bridge the gap, right? I'm trying to bridge the gap there, where I'm saying that, like, you know, the reason why the states that promote survivability also have positive phenomenal valence, right? I'm trying to give a reason for that. And what I'm saying the reason for that is because this is an evolutionary solution to providing reward mechanisms for as a feedback mechanism, right? It doesn't have to be reward. It could be the negative of reward, whatever reward punishment, if you like. So that feedback mechanism.
That has to be wrong, right? Like, if you could derive that, then you just would have like a way of getting around.
I'm not saying this is a
the point of phenomenal inverse is just that like everything about our world could have played out the same physically. Evolution would have gone the same way, and there could have been no qualia, or pain and pleasure could have been inverted. But like if you're just saying that there's some way that you can derive from just like evolution, that wouldn't happen. Like
it's not meant to be like an a priori derivation, right? It's meant to be giving you the sort of like metaphysical explanation on the evolutionary naturalist account, right, for the correlation which is allegedly fortuitous.
Yeah, but just not like the way explanation is supposed to work is just if I give you the facts about evolution, even if I give them to you like third personally, like ideally you should be able to tell me like, okay, what is selected for and why. It's right. You know, like my suggestion is just like, okay, all that evolution will care about is the physical stuff, right? But you agree that the physical
But I think that's all there is.
is consistent with any like set of phenomenal concepts, at least conceptually.
No, but okay, yeah. Look, it's in the same way that like you can conceptually isolate like Clark Kent from Superman, right? But then I can give you the metaphysical account, which explains why, you know, when you see Clark Kent go into a fucking phone booth and come out, or you see Clark Kent go into a phone booth and then you see Superman come out. Like, why does that happen? Well, it's because they're the same guy, you know. And so the idea is like, okay, in this story, right? The point is that you know, you're giving an evolutionary account, and you're saying like, okay, like maybe this is the way to understand. And again, it's not like a priori like necessitated, right? But the idea is that maybe this is why there's this correlation that seems fortuitous. And the idea is, okay, what if phenomenal states that have valences, like positive and negative valences, the way that pain and pleasure seem to have, right, are evolution's way of providing feedback mechanisms for the promotion of survivable behaviors in the case of organisms who have advanced cognition, right? Like, it's a way to cut through their sort of more rational mental processes to give them a reward or punishment or whatever you want, negative reward, whatever you want to call it, you know, to promote the right behaviors for their survivability. So it's just like, that's one solution that evolution developed. It's not saying that it follows from evolution and naturalism or from these concept frameworks, right? It's saying like, maybe this is just what happened, right?
But just, okay, look, if I just know, like, okay, like, I'm aware of what the trajectory of evolution is like, right? I have that information. Right, okay, so yeah, I have that information. Let's say like I'm some like advanced computer. I don't have this phenomenal concept. Can I derive just which phenomenal concepts are going to be had by the organisms produced by evolution? Is that like a derivation I can do?
I'm not exactly
if you
clear.
get all the information about evolutionary history, can I say, okay, this is like the sort of states people are going to have associated with the functional thing?
This being doesn't possess phenomenal concepts.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
Yeah, then I don't think they would be able to derive. I don't think so. I don't think they would be able to derive the phenomenal concepts from that information.
Okay, would they be able to derive just the data of harmony?
Well, seemingly, no, if they don't have the phenomenal concepts, because they wouldn't have them to say the heart yet, right? So
it's like, I mean, okay, well, like, once you update, it's like my thought is now, like, we agree that just, let's also say that this thing learns just that this, like, theory you have of, like, the phenomenal concept strategy, that's correct. Even if it learns that variety of identity theory is true, it still won't make the derivation.
Yeah, it has to have, well, if you want to say, like, is it sensitive to the harmony, or is it sensitive to, like, what we are sensitive to when we think about phenomenal concepts, then no, it's not, because it's devoid of that system.
Like, I'm feeding the computer.
It's basically, the point is, what I'm saying is, it's devoid of a lens on the world. Right?
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, let's add to the supercomputer the knowledge of, like, or, you know, part of knowledge.
Yeah, I don't know if it would understand it.
Sorry, what?
I don't know if it would be able to, like, make sense of that theory, you know, without having that component, you know, where it, like, comprehends what a phenomenal concept is. So I don't know if it would be able to understand the content of the synthetic identity theory if it didn't have phenomenal concepts at all. You know, maybe it would,
Sure.
but
I got my foot, so I'm taking a break. I'm gonna be eating.
oh, okay, yeah. Truthy. The man of the hour. Why isn't Albedo Eastern Orthodox yet, Truthy? Why is he taking the Shahada? How can you let... Yeah, he's just going to let it happen, Albedo. I think it's because you're a Native American, Albedo. I think that's why he doesn't want you. Albedo, have you ever looked at? Do you think perennialism extends to Mormon?
Yeah, I definitely think it could. Or at least it's like on the table.
What about Scientology?
I don't know if Scientology is
What
like...
about Nazism? Mormonism?
Yeah, what about communism, since that's a religion according to...
Oh, yeah.
Dude, Elias is just like, oh, everything's a religion. You know, Harry Potter fandom is a religion. You know, being a sports fan is a religion. I mean, I have seen, like, to be fair to that kind of, like, argument, like, I have seen debate on, like, what is a religion? You know, and it basically boils down to, like, doing the what is a chair debate, you know? It's just like, look, man, there's, like, some things we call religions and there's other things we don't. Like, can we just, like, move on, you know? Like, here's a bunch of religions, you know? Do these other things actually seem relevantly... Yeah, it's not interesting because, like, if somebody wants to water down what it means to be a religion and then call me a religious person, it's like, okay, that's fine. I'm a religious person. Like, what is your religion? It's non-religious. That's my religion.
Atheism's a religion.
Oh my god. See, this is like the whole... He's like, is every proposition a religion? Like...
Yes, apparently. If you have thoughts about it, it's religious. They're religious thoughts.
If you believe the sky is blue, you are part of the blue sky religion. I do want to know why Sasha takes that guy, Jonathan Majors. I heard he was better in, like, the Loki show. I've seen a couple scenes from it. It seems like, okay.
I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I haven't kept up with Marvel since, like, Endgame happened. I really haven't seen... I was looking through them the other day, where they have it separated now, so it's like, you know, the original, like, Infinity Wars, like, arc, and then they have the multiverse stuff, multiverse arc, and it's like, I really haven't seen any of the multiverse. Including that Spider-Man movie, which I kind of wanted to see.
Oh, I did see that one.
I think I saw Multiverse of Madness. I think I saw that one, Doctor Strange.
And I haven't seen that.
Dude, somebody commented on that, you know that meme that I made with the modalities, and it's like Thanos with the somebody was like, "Oh, you should have done temporal modality," and I was like, "Fuck, that would have been perfect."
Back to the drawing board.
Yeah, it's a funny. Truthy. Oh, I think it was. That guy Josie. I think he was mentioned earlier by somebody.
Mike Clark, yeah. I think it was Clark.
Wait, what?
Wasn't it Clark that
You think Josie is?
No, that
Oh,
Clark.
Clark mentioned him. I got you. Yeah. It might have been him, but yeah, he was like trolling John Lee the other day, and so he was pretending to be a free sub, and like he basically ran Truthy's old argument, where the idea is that like you can just like disjunctivize the whole thing, so you just make a bunch of like disjuncts, and so like you have like Christian theism as one of the disjuncts, but then you're able to come up with a system of categories to like exhaust all the other views with like a finite string of disjuncts, and then you just eliminate the other one, And it was funny because he brought that up trolling John Lee about how precept is actually good. But yeah, as far as I know, nobody's done.
No, they gave up that. I don't know when was that. Back when GIG was around.
No, they have done it. It's just called the totality of all apologetics. That's the support for premise one.
Yeah, it's like a million premise argument.
Yeah, give or take.
Holy shit. I was thinking about this earlier when that guy was talking about the problem of evil a little bit, with like gratuitous evils. And it is kind of weird, and I don't know why it's not framed this way more often, but it's like, okay, we can talk about morally sufficient reasons, and like we can grant that, like, okay, it's apparently gratuitous, but it's really not. Granted, there is a good reason for it, blah blah blah. But like, if you're running the critique where you're saying like, okay, with our moral intuitions, like according to them, it seems very implausible that there is some moral justification for this. Like that's the idea anyway. And when it comes to like God's omnipotence, it's just like, okay, but look, I mean, is it, even if you want to say, look, he could just have a reason, okay? It's like, yeah, he could, but he's omnipotent, so like him having a reason in that case almost implies like not having better alternatives, And it seems incredibly implausible to say that like God didn't have better alternatives.
Yeah, but you're not God. So how would you know?
Yeah, and then that's just where like you're just accepting some kind of at least limited skepticism about a lot of shit.
I don't know. It's funny you say it because I've always felt like it's just really intuitive to me that there would be that epistemic gap, and really, if I think about a few things about like just how bizarre things might be from like the God's eye view. Like if I would imagine what the perfect balance between mercy and justice would be, all things considered. I'm not even sure, like, you know what I mean? Like, can I really get a grasp on that? My understanding was always we just have. Yeah, go ahead.
It's weird because it's like you think, okay, there's all these different ways reality could be, like they could be really weird, like so much worse than what we could possibly conceive, like okay, and then from like a God's eye view who doesn't have any of these like cognitive barriers that maybe we have, it's even more bizarre, But it's like, okay, when you're reasoning such that you're like, okay, there has to be a mind at like the bedrock of reality. There has to be like a decider, at the bedrock of reality. It seems like, well, if it did turn out to be a perfectly good being, like, yeah, you got really lucky. It strikes me as like wishful thinking. It's like you're spiraling back down to the fundamental layer of reality, and like, yeah, if it has to be a person, I hope it's a good person.
Just seems to get into the nature of meta-ethics and semantics around good there. What good's picking out?
Yeah, but don't you think you could just as easily get like the exact same semantics of like a mirrored, like a purely evil person at the foundation of reality? Like that also presupposes, the distinction between good and evil in the same way,
Yeah, you just mean the Stephen Law thing.
Yeah, or Stephen Law does it a certain way. You can just think about it on your own terms. Of like, okay, let's say the only thing we are fixing is that the fundamental layer of reality has to be like a mind, a person, something capable of making decisions, aware of everything, all powerful. Okay, and then we're like, okay, does that all require that it's good? I don't think so. Right? So like, if we stop right before we get to all good, right? We give him every other property, and then it's like, okay, seems like there's some room for variability on his goodness, and whatever sort of like character he has is going to presuppose like the moral landscape or whatever you want to call it. Like, yeah. So you're going to get that one way or the other, given that he has some kind of like moral character. And then why is it that he would be good, other than like we hope he would be,
Well, it's just interesting to me that like God is the way God is necessarily, and our moral semantics, the thing that we intuit as good, picks out this kind of energy of God, and you could sit there and say like, oh well, it's just like how lucky we are that it ends up being quote unquote good. But the referent there of that good and why that would even seem intuitive in the first place seems to be that on theism, there's some relation to the necessary being and us and our moral intuitions, and that's why that kind of even makes any sense for you to say, oh, we're just lucky that it's quote unquote good.
You just pulled it fast. You just tried to say that it's
That's the only one
good
that
that
pull.
you could even ask me that question.
Yeah, exactly.
But maybe an evil God would allow me to ask you that question in service of a greater.
Yeah, I mean, all these instances of good just make it that much worse when the hurricane takes your family away.
Exactly. And it's way more palpable in those terms. I mean, does it make sense to say like, oh, like basically, I'm good, right? And so I'm only deceiving you into thinking certain things are evil, but really they're not. Like they're actually good if you understood them the way that I understand them, or something like that. And then you contrast that with like the actual experience and saying like, okay, what if like there's an evil God that's trying to promote evil, and so the goods are there to make it more heartbreaking when something atrocious happens, right? And that seems to work.
You're just a pessimist.
I mean, it's like, what kind of goods do we as individuals really experience where we're like, oh man, I'm glad that, this genocide happened because at least I get to swim in my pool.
Yeah, the genocide was actually necessary for the feeling of the water to feel that nice.
Yeah, see, that almost seems selfish, doesn't it? It's like, oh, so that I can experience this awe, like all these other people had to suffer.
It was a butterfly effect.
I realize now how it's good.
Yeah, it was a total butterfly effect. It just led from this little genocide over here to your pool feeling that great.
you could understand God's goodness in a different context, right? Like you could just say something like goodness is just ontologically prior to evil in all possible worlds. So like there's
Why am I
this,
granting any of this credit?
Let's just say that it could.
well,
We
you
could
could,
understand
well,
it
you would
more
grant
in
that
terms
because
of. You could
like
understand
it
it
would,
in terms of like balance.
Yeah, balance makes some sense. This like has to start with good. I don't.
well, that's the whole thing, right? So, for example, you know how in physics, or at least in theoretical physics, people start with like symmetry, and then asymmetry gives rise to like higher order contingencies, or let's say more particular derivative states. I think it would be the same thing with regards to this notion of good, right? Because within this idea of good exists the potential for all different imbalances, let's just say. So you have to
Wait,
create
why?
an imbalance. It's just essentially
Is
saying that
imbalance bad or good? Imbalance. Is it bad?
imbalance is what would be considered bad, right? That would be
Right. So how is that part of the concept of good?
well, it would be a subset of good, right? In all possible
No,
worlds.
wait.
So for
No,
example,
why? That's what I'm asking. No, it seems like it's like the contrary of.
no.
You're saying
So,
balance is good and imbalance is bad. Then why is it that like imbalance is part of the concept of balance, except in just aside from just being its opposite?
Oh, so what about?
no. So I think it's improper to think of badness as some sort of dichotomous opposite, rather than goodness almost being constitutive of two types of badness, right? So it's like two types of extremes.
What? Wait, what?
Or
Are you saying two wrongs make a right? Is that what you're saying?
correct? Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, maybe I'm gonna get on board with this. It's starting to sound kind of basic to me now. So
That's a really
Three
funny way to
lefts
put it,
make a
actually.
right.
yeah.
No, it's sort of like Aristotelian in some sense, right? Where there's like a golden mean, and then like the central position is sort of like a reconciliation of what would otherwise be two extremes. But in a more simple example, for example, in a more simple way to understand it, at least in regards to the two wrongs making a right, you could say something like, all right, here's an analogy, right? And there's going to be some like imperfections with this analogy, but in order to say goodness is ontologically more like prior to like badness, you can say that for any given badness that's possible, it would be parasitic on goodness in the following way. So let's just say I have a number line, and for every positive number, I necessarily have a negative number, which in this analogy constitutes an inherent balance throughout like this infinite number line, right? So for every positive is a negative, therefore this number line is naturally balanced. But a potential subset of this number line might be some mereological way in which I can construct an imbalance by abstracting numbers out of this line into some finite perspective. Or
Okay,
balance.
so what you're saying, like, if I have a scale and like I have weights on either side, right? You want to say the scale system is in balance, right? But if I just focus on like one of the weights on the negative side, let's say, that thing is imbalanced in itself. Is that what you want to say?
Depends what you mean by focus, right? I don't know. I don't think it's merely like
isolate, like sort of just consider it in isolation.
Isolation, I mean, it's not merely like some, let's say, epistemic threshold.
I just mean like the way that I'm saying the way that we're thinking about it.
Sure, right. Like what's happening is like we're abstract out of this number line that in and of itself is inherently balanced and full.
Is what you're saying that the number line is balanced, but it's made up of individuals which themselves are not balanced.
No. It's made up of individuals that can be let's say, abstracted and rebundled into ways that would reflect an imbalance in themselves intrinsically. So I could say, I could build a subconstruct that takes 3 number positive side of the integer, side of the line, and in my let's just say partition.
Yeah, but Curtis, I think that's what I'm saying. I think I get it.
Oh, okay.
I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah, that's the general thought.
Johnny, if you know what Realme earbuds are?
No.
Is that like a known company?
What are those? No, I know. It's the answer.
Sounds like some off-brand Amazon shit.
I think you're thinking of Real Doll Buds.
You should get some Stasis Audio headphones, by the way. I don't know if you guys.
You should get some fucking Apple AirPods and join them.
Yo,
real talk. They're on another level.
I don't like iPhone stuff. I don't like Apple.
JLab is pretty good.
I like Gay Lab.
I don't know. Okay, sorry. I don't care. Call it JLab if you want. JLab. Yeah.
You don't look like an athlete. I look like an athlete.
Yeah, but it's fine. But it's not bad.
You look like you build sprinklers.
Yeah, I designed sprinklers.
Hey,
I'm just saying,
can you come up here? Because, yeah, there was some very serious allegations about your moral status. I don't know if you'd like to discuss this.
Who?
It's Lenny.
Oh.
Ethan was basically saying it was evil, and it seemed like there was kind of broad endorsement of that.
Shit can't talk.
I just had a pizza.
What was vegan cheese?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just kind of fucked myself because I just realized I miscalculated something. So I need 84 grams. Bro. Oh, funny. Sorry. So I wouldn't be so confident talking on these things after I got whooped by Joel. Yowl. Oh, yo, I was just taking my rations by myself. You got cooked. This truth is saying retarded shit, just making up fucking words and shit. Yo, I will say, unfalsifiable. Yeah, it's all unfalsifiable. You can make shit up now, bro.
It was really funny. I keep going into these Rodrigo rooms, and Truthie's been talking to Rodrigo, and I'll join, and then periodically he'll go, "Okay, can you bring Sully up now?" And he's trying to pokeball me against.
To be fair, Sully, I try to pokeball everyone against Rodrigo.
Yeah. So, have you talked to Rodrigo?
Yeah, that needs to happen, bro.
I don't think I have really.
Oh, you need to. Cool.
See, that would be hilarious.
Can we have Godless Boy versus Rodrigo round 2?
Rodrigo just
That would be a train wreck. Hey, Josh talked to Rodrigo.
Yeah, you're the one who told me about it, remember? Fucking, he was like screaming his head off at Rodrigo. And Rodrigo like kicked him out of the room and was like, "Good day."
Where is that?
Yeah, that happened.
So did any of you find a picture of Rodrigo?
Good day. Say again?
Did any of you find a picture of Rodrigo?
I think he had his picture. Yeah, he had his picture for a while. He looks like he's handsome. He looks like a silverback Benicio del Toro. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just want to see the picture.
You have to ask. Yeah, you debate him and make that the price. And any available feed pics.
Are you gonna play with Rodriguez?
No, I don't think so.
He'd be so lucky. To be honest, like Rodrigo basically flirts with everyone. Like that's not really like.
His voice is very like ASMR.
Wait, Sam and him have beef apparently.
No. We squashed the beef and we had a long conversation about like aesthetics and stuff like that.
By
like
the fire.
And then he thinks that people that want to be like libertarians, live off the grid, should be like basically shot, like these them, which I thought was funny.
So base.
But I'm kind of strawmanning him to be honest, but like
That is super base though.
Let's get Melis to talk to him. No. But you actually do have some views on metaphysics. Like I spoke to him, and I have like no views about anything.
I have no views about anything either.
You believe in like the number 4.
Yeah.
You believe in triangles.
Yeah, you believe the number 4 is spelled like F-O-O-R.
So 4.
For real, we should.
At least you don't believe that.
Versus the world.
At least you don't believe that ants can talk to Solomon and believe that and know who Solomon is by name.
Ants are
Yeah, but on what modality can they not do that, Sam?
We don't know what they can think about.
No, that's like the philosophical highlight reel. You know, you like present arguments to people and they just take the fun. Like when Andrew, and I did that. I'm not allowed to bring it back up. So the schmantism stuff. And Andrew just went full BHI. I was like, which Jews? Who are the Jews? Like, wait, what?
Well, Andrew doesn't know which rule he's following, so he doesn't know if BHI is a misattribution of who the correct Jews are, or, like...
Yeah, Marty thinks that ants can, like, talk to each other and, like, have concepts in their head.
True.
Oh, how do you know
Have
that?
you seen the movie that my guy is from in the PFP?
Ants?
Oh, yeah.
No, I've only seen the movie.
Also, remember A Bug's Life?
You saw a B movie, Sam? Oh my god. I mean, it
Yeah,
deserves the buzz it got, you know? Yeah, of course.
I'm talking about Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Holy. It's like this advanced civilization of ants. And like they beat up the black guy who's like super strong. And he's like killed Thor and everybody.
So they got that part right too.
And then like these ants beat him up. That's like stupid.
Yeah, also, I want to say Sully was fully vindicated by Sam. I asked Sam what MFM meant, and he vindicated me.
I mean, all questions about porn, you can just, like, put them my way.
No, but
See, I realized it didn't even have to be a porn. I shouldn't have said it's a porn thing, which was the first thing I said, because it can just be like...
Oh, for you.
Like I told you, it could just be you're seeking a certain kind of freedom, in real life.
Right, on a website, something.
No, it doesn't. Look, it could be Craigslist. It could be a newspaper article. You could post it. You could put it up on a post board and be your phone.
William Lang Craig.
You know those? You know when you can like leave up. You know when you just like leave up a little poster and it has like you can rip off the phone number.
I feel like you're gonna get a lot of.
You could write it on You could write it on the inside of a bathroom stall and put your.
What the fuck are you doing?
If you put a like personal ad up, they say like
you're saying
looking for FM.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Like.
Oh, okay. Sorry, no, I thought you were trying to say it's non-sexual.
No, it's not.
Okay. You're saying it's not porn, but it's still sexual.
Oh yeah.
What does that mean?
So just to be clear, you're saying like you just be sitting in the bathroom store and just
Yeah, whenever I'm doing coke.
Yeah, for MFM, call this number.
Whenever I'm doing coke and toilet seats in Brooklyn dive bars, there's lots of numbers there that I. That's how I get all the dates that I get. You know what I mean?
Why would you not think that's like an initial rather than a fucking? Oh, yeah.
Or you ever see those things like there's like on the dating apps, people will like it'll be 2 people, like they'll just be like
couples.
Yeah,
there's a whole
like not even just couples. It's like me and my buddy, I'm looking for like
there's
either another pair. It's weird. It's fucking weird.
There's a dating app called like
those people.
There's a dating app called like Field, I think, and then it's explicitly for that.
Is there specifically a 3-way days? Like, is there a dating app just to get involved in, but it's for 3?
Yeah.
But it's for 3. It's for MFM.
It's just for anyone.
That's one type of 3-way.
So yeah.
There's different types.
There's only 2 types of 3-ways, guys.
No, there's like
There's 4. Never mind. I'm sorry. My bad.
It was straight sense.
I'm a retard. I'm a fucking retard for saying this too.
Yeah. Wait, did you guys have your psychophysical harmony debate?
I was making pizza segment. Oh no, sorry, you mean with Sam? No, I was.
Yeah.
I was debating with Sasha, and Sully was like, let me butt in real quick, and then like, just kind of like fucking elbowed me.
Many such cases.
Whoa, shots fired in the chat. Oh my god.
To be fair,
Alright, so,
like at least 50% of the time, at least 50% of the time, Sully butts in on my stuff. I'm getting like tired of talking to the person anyway.
Yeah, I was already getting tired of Sam's shit. Fucking guy. I want to talk to him again.
This fucking guy.
But Sasha,
I had one in the chamber there, Sam. I'm sorry. I had like just DM'd Sasha right prior to you guys picking up on talking about that.
I get it. You were ready to bust. You're looking for an FMM.
I was looking.
Well, that situation sounded like it was a male, female.
Yeah, it was.
That was an X on that.
Yeah, I should have just said Eiffel Tower.
For sure.
Yeah.
Timothy would have understood Eiffel Tower.
Sully, when you come to the threesome, you shouldn't kick the other guy out. You know what I mean?
That's etiquette. That's poor threesome etiquette. You're right.
Exactly.
Timothy, I might need your to return the favor I did to you.
Since I have real quick. I know. But real quick, since I have a diverse group of white guys and a black guy who knows them very well, I like to play this little game. It's called.
The black guy?
I don't know. I don't know if he wants me to tell. But since I have this set of dynamics, I like to play this game. It's called this fucking N-word, right? And so
you already played it before you got here.
No. So the game is the game is if Sam or I want to do it like a head-to-head between Sam and Sully. No homo. Which one of them in a argument with a black guy is most likely to think to themselves, "This fucking idiot."
It's fucking hilarious.
Now
the answer is Sam.
So Timothy, I'm gonna need your help since it's the case that you know these guys very well. Yeah. I have my own thoughts. How do you want to do this? How do you want to do this? How do you want to do it?
Sasha doesn't need any provocation.
I can put my vote in the chat, and you can say it out loud after I put it in the chat. Just promise, don't look.
I want to say, look, I think clearly people are gonna, like, a lot of people are gonna think Sam Sully's like a diehard kind of liberal, and he's like a bleeding heart for minorities.
I mean, Sam and Sully.
Really?
Sam and Sully. I actually, just to like, some more data, right? So Sam and Sully were having an argument the other day in Sam's room about whether or not, like,
yo guys, let's
black people, about whether or not black people being mean to white people on Clubhouse is representative of like black people's like bloodlust against white people, and like whether or not like what white people should do about this threat to their race. And Sully was taking the position that it isn't representative and we shouldn't do white nationalism. Sam was, on the other side.
I don't think this adds any more context. I think we already kind of. I want to defend myself. My vote is for Sam. My vote is for Sam.
I just want to say this one thing.
Hold on, guys. Let me make it more. Okay, for sure, I'm more likely to think it. Sully, I don't even think lets himself think it. Okay, but I think I'm more likely to get along with black people better than Sully. Like the IRL, I'm gonna get along with black people better. And then I also want to say that I think Sasha is way more likely to just say it than everyone else in the room. So that's my. So we all agree Sam is the most likely person to fight a black guy to
say to himself, this fucking English.
I mean,
Y'all agree?
in this room, I think Andrew might be in this room.
All right, so you're saying if you did a head-to-head with Andrew,
Yeah, that's a closer.
you're saying he would think it faster.
That's a much
Like he would have gotten there faster with less provocation,
closer,
right?
Yeah, it's closer race. I would say.
Andrew's more spry in that section of the Olympic Games.
But I'm like out racing both Sam and Andrew. It's like not even a contest.
No, you have like the gold medal for life. Okay, you're not even.
I appreciate it.
Sasha is saying it upon. Hello, hey, how you doing? This fucking Andrew. This makes sense. That makes sense.
That's a good game though, Cookie.
It's the best. It's
a real fun game.
Yeah.
Must be great, after dinner.
All right. A harder head-to-head, guys. Millith versus Albedo.
That's a good one. I'm gonna have to give it to Millith.
Yeah, but Millith's been cooking. I wanted to actually kind of offer some kind of defense. Well, it's not really a defensive sound, but it made it a little bit easier. More interesting, which is that Sully has rapped Busta Rhymes lyrics that actually include the N-word. There's a sound I've actually never heard say.
I knew that was gonna come up.
I thought we went past this. I thought it was unanimous.
Actually, I forgot about that.
I thought it was unanimous.
Talks about you behind your back.
No, I just
But see, that was completely accidental. In fact, when that happened, prior to it happening, I was like, I don't want to do this because it has the N-word. And they were like, no, just stop at the first N-word. Just stop at the and I'm reading it, right? I'm reading it off and trying to rap. And I was doing the Ron Burgundy.
Sully was basically goaded by two black people into saying the N-word.
It was not. Well, one of those black people was Andrew.
Okay, two black people and one pasty white ass.
Voted or given permission? It sounds like
It was Carlton was like the one who was.
It was funny because it was like one of those situations where they're like, he's like, no, I don't want to say it accidentally. They're like, no, do it. You can just stop before. He does it. He accidentally fucking says it, and then everybody's like, oh, whoa!
What do you mean, bro?
Didn't see that one coming.
Disgusting. Historically, the terms.
Hey, look, I'm not. Look, it's not. I wasn't making a criticism. I wasn't making a criticism.
No, but I just wanted to make it. I still think Sam's the overall favorite, quote unquote, but quote unquote even. But Millith and Albedo, goddamn, yeah, Millith called me the N-word before.
Millith.
He's also called me the K-word.
It would take a lot for Millith, but he would definitely succumb to his inner desires before Albedo.
Yeah.
You think Cloud has more self-control than I do?
In that department, most definitely.
Cloud has more self-control than everybody, but I think I'm pretty sure there's at least a fourth about there's a demon living in somewhere in Albedo's back in Albedo's brain or something. It's every once in a while it'll come out somebody will make a really off-color joke and then he'll join in really emphatically when you didn't expect him to. So I think
no, but I feel like the best measure of mine. No, but I feel like the best
Piper.
Fuck you.
I think he won my.
Hey, Albedo, are we not able to tell the difference between trans people anymore, Albedo?
No, I'm sorry.
What about Truthy versus Sam?
You all sound the same?
No, I think he won. I think
Truthy versus Sam.
It's everybody versus Sam.
He won my ticket for me. My ticket before me.
He won before you? No, I think it'll.
He genuinely doesn't like people, whereas I kind of like people, so I think he's more likely to be frustrated by a black man, and so he'll just
He's
be
more enlightened than you.
Ela isn't like.
Is this thing talking about me right now?
He said he would. He said
Yes.
he would.
Yes, he is talking about you.
Who is Bob Saget?
I know he's not talking about me right now.
No, he is.
Who?
Fucked up.
Sam or Truthy? Who says it first?
What's the game called?
Truthie will say it
this
now.
fucking
I'm
N-word.
pretty sure Truthie just said it before Sam ever.
This is some casting of aspersions. This is racist.
The game is called This Fucking N-Word, and it's basically head-to-head competitions between two white guys about who would say it first in their head upon getting into like some sort of verbal altercation with a black guy.
For sure, Sam. Unquestionable. Duty stays N-word name.
I think he's like on Sasha level where the black guy says, "Hey, what's up, Truthie?" He's like, "This fucking this fucking Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up?"
Racist casting of aspersions on my character. I can't abide. Truthie's name be run through the dumb, but it's crazy.
All right, Venus versus Hela. Who's
Venus?
That's not even a competition.
Okay, Venus versus Sasha. How about that? Venus versus Sasha.
I'm in the locker room and they're giving him the golden.
Nah, Venus. Like Venus is
It's gonna be me. Do you know how many times I thought of this?
Exactly. As you should.
Is Venus second place? Is Venus the second place after Sasha? Is there anyone?
Wait. Are we doing ER or just an N? Is it just an N one?
It's in your head.
In your head, it's ER. For conversational purposes.
Venus maybe not so much. Venus.
Let me take it in a different direction. So between Sayla and Zeleny, who says it's first? Who thinks?
Zeleny.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know Sayla that well.
Okay, so Sayla's gonna be like, listen, I love all the N words. You know what I mean? Like,
what's Zeleny gonna say? You fucking the church fathers thought you were an N.
Church fathers thought that it was actually the woke position to call black people dead.
Oh, that's Zeleny, bro. Is he still arguing homosexuality is permitted in the Bible as per Jonathan and David?
Why do you ask him yourself? I think he's in here.
No, I didn't know he was in speak. What are you talking about? He thinks the entire Democratic platform at any particular time is in the Bible.
Concrete, what is this game called?
This fucking N-word. This fucking N-word. It's like what the Republicans thought every time Obama gave a speech for the first couple of years.
This sounds like the most boring game to ever play in Chittenden City.
You remember when it was a political scandal that Obama wore a tan suit? Do you remember?
No. What was the thing they were doing where he ate a hot dog and it was with he didn't use mustard or something and Fox News was pissed off about that or something?
No, the best Fox
News segment was the tan suit. He wore a tan suit one time and it was like a 3-week-long thing. 3-week-long scandal. It's not presidential, Miller, okay? You need the office of the presidency to sort of project American power, okay?
In the office of the president, if you have been bestowed the honor of United States president, you need to gargle on that pig meat with some mustard slathered on.
Dude, you think about it this way, right? Bill Clinton was almost impeached for lying under oath, or was impeached, right? So I think technically he was impeached.
He was.
Or lying under the
Senate. He was impeached for the House.
About getting a blowjob. How many times has Donald Trump lied under oath, bro? It's crazy. How can they not catch him out for lying once under oath?
He would never lie under oath. He would never wear it. You ever seen him take a deposition? He doesn't lie under oath. He just says, I can't remember.
I'd rather not see Donald Trump take a deposition, but I just want to report
it's good stuff.
that
Look it up.
in the chat, Zeleny said, Jesus was more progressive than the Dem platform, both economically and culturally.
That's true.
Oh boy.
The Dem platform.
Trump is a man of style and taste, and that's why he would never
Did
wear
say
a
that.
tan suit.
I think we need to.
Trump is a man of
I think we need to-
smelly.
You know what they should do is they should extend
Guys, come on. Let on, guys.
We need to welcome our friend. We need to welcome our friend Tobias here, and we need to shout out to one third of the fruit patch, which is guava.
down in the audience. And
Tobias, are you a theist or an atheist?
He's an atheist.
Or a
Let me tell
dirty.
you,
He doesn't believe in. He doesn't think in evidence. Like the only thing counts as evidence is like 100% certainty.
Oh, that guy? Oh, yo, let's go.
Philo, you thought that Morpheus was like doing, atheist tropes and all this stuff or whatever, cliches. It is the case that.
Well, this guy dodges arguments like.
Tobias is pretty gangster. He said this was his claim. Are you ready, Philo?
Oh God, this Tobias guy.
Hold on. There is.
Trudy, have you heard about this Tobias guy?
Hold on, sorry. There is zero evidence for theism.
Zero.
And
He says there's no evidence, Trudy.
Hold on.
Can you believe?
Hold on, buddy. Testimony is not evidence.
Of course not. Why would it be?
It's probably going to be similar to what Morpheus said, which Morpheus said, and I quote, not really, but
It's like he needs something weird by evidence. Almost. It's like he's using that word a different way or something.
Hold on, Uncle Sully. Arguments are not evidence. There you go. That was
Right.
your Uncle Morpheus.
Are you sprinting, Andrew? Like what in the world?
I am. I'm working. Sorry.
He's racing against the game.
He's sprinting
into the old lady's house and stealing all of her.
He's sprinting to the nearest black guy to have a couple.
We'll have a couple what?
A couple of thoughts.
Yeah, well, I'm running from Michaela. I took some stuff from her and she's coming after me, so.
I just love all the kikes. I just think all the kikes are great. And listen, you're a kike, I'm a kike. We can all get them.
Shut the fish up. Tobias, do you want to maintain? It's good to see you, buddy. Do you want to maintain your position that there is quote zero evidence for theism unquote?
Tobias, what do you mean by evidence? What do you think evidence means?
So let's not.
Hey, Andrew. Let's not. Oh, toxic. I'm toxic.
You come after me for toxic charity.
You're going after Tobias. He's our guest. You're going after him. I'm trying to be hospitable.
No.
Well, I'm trying to be hospitable. I do think he deserves hospitality, Andrew.
Yes, but I do. But I just want to say that Sully, the thing is
you're acting like I'm doing something untoward towards you by giving him hospitality, which makes it seem like you don't want to be hospitable.
He doesn't need to be coddled. He's got the testicular fortitude to come in here guns blazing. Okay, so what I'm saying is let's just let him have at it. It's all good. So, I just want to know, Tobias.
You can do it.
Yeah, you can do it, brother. Tobias, do you think that testimony is evidence?
Explain what evidence means.
Evidence raises the probability of a particular conclusion.
Not you. Not you. Him.
Oh, okay.
One reason why Sully beats me in the competition is because I have way more black friends in this app than.
You still thinking about it?
That's not true. Wait a minute. Look through my friends.
Hungry. He's got no black friends in this app.
Oh, you're doing. Oh, I see what you're doing.
Look, I think everybody granted. The blacks are gonna think you're a nicer guy, but you fly off the handle. It's definitely gonna be just fucking N-word.
Hey,
see, for that measure, you should go by my friends list. Let me direct you to my friends.
Hey, brother, are you able to talk?
Yeah, I'm kind of.
We didn't actually finish the psychophysical harmony stuff.
Yeah.
I came in to fix our sprinklers at the shop.
Yeah, I'm kind of just listening, man.
Listen.
I'm up for talking about whatever as well. I don't know what you guys are discussing.
Sasha, if your blender short-circuited, hopefully you have some sprinkler.
Here's my question for you, Tobias.
Go ahead.
Do you think the fact that you have 4 billion plus whatever people believing in God, that counts as some evidence for the existence of God?
No. I think again, from the other day, I think we have a disagreement on what the term evidence, the different types of evidence, and the importance
of that. I think it might have some correlation to evidence, but on a very small level, nowhere near enough to justify anything like that. I would need a lot more.
What do you think about it is evidence, but what do you think about the fine-tuning argument?
What do you think of the fine-tuning argument? Elaborate on what that is, and I'll tell you.
That the universe is finely tuned with all the constants and just all the constraints and everything in such a way that it allows for human life to arise.
Yeah, the universe is fine-tuned for Holocaust. It's perfect.
I think it can appear that way, but I think that's still a claim and an assumption that it's designed specifically in a way that could only be designed by something or someone. But again, that's just a presumption based on something we know very little about.
What are you gonna say now, P.G. Burnham?
Well, we know very little about it, but
wait, what's a presumption?
That it has to have been designed.
But what is a presumption?
What is a presumption? It's an assumption. An assumption. You're assuming something based on a small amount of information.
What's an assumption?
Why don't you go look it up on Google, bro?
The reason why I'm asking, because I don't think you're using the word that's applicable to this actual scenario. When we say presume or assume, that doesn't have like an evidentiary basis. We come to conclusions based on evidence in this regard.
Okay, so what do you call coming to a conclusion based on insufficient evidence? What's your
sufficiency or insufficiency is just going to be like some subjective position that I don't hold, right? You might hold it, but I don't hold it. So are you going to accuse me of being assumptive or assuming because you think that the evidence is insufficient?
I think if you're concluding large claims based on insufficient evidence, then I would call that...
What does it mean, large claims? What does that mean?
That something massive and complicated we know very little about came about in one particular way that you've concluded based on insufficient evidence.
When you say massive, are you referring to its size or its importance?
Well, the complexities of the universe. You know how complicated the universe is. You know how little we know about it. We know, I think, 2 to 4% of the observable universe. I mean, it's not.
How much do we need? How much information do we need about the universe to come to a conclusion?
Well, I think to come to any conclusion, you need to have a pretty full comprehension of it. So I would say at least 80-90%.
How would you know you've reached 80-90% of the available information?
Well, at this stage, we wouldn't know because we don't know. I mean, you don't know how.
How could you know?
Well, how could you know that you've reached 80-90% of something? Well, I mean.
Yeah, something as.
I don't understand the question. Why? What kind of question is that? I don't understand.
You're the one that's laying out.
Yeah. I know. You're asking me how do you know that you've come to 80-90% of knowledge? Like, what's the point in asking that question?
Wait, what?
Oh, you're the one.
You said 80 to 90% of the space has to be explored to be confident. Say you know something about it. That's.
Solly, please don't interrupt, or Sam, please don't interrupt. I think this is a
Fuck
very
you,
good. I think they're very
well. I mean, whether you
concrete.
Go ahead, Sam.
Sorry, one quick. Sam, shut up.
Mark versus Dog.
Well, actually, I did have a quick question.
Mark.
I think it might be Mark as well.
Oh, Mark versus Dog? Yeah, Mark 100%.
Let's say you are
the rules in the game where they have to pick
Mark is kind of Sasha level.
No.
Sorry, I just want to say,
Not even close. That's slander.
I just want to say, even if you didn't know whether you came to 80-90% conclusion of something, that's even more of a reason not to make any claims, right?
So you don't
I
know
don't really
anything,
understand the
right?
point of the question.
You
None of
know
us
anything?
know anything.
Okay, so you're okay.
But I don't
You're cool with
claim.
that.
I don't claim to know anything either.
You hear that, Andrew? He doesn't know anything.
He's like Socrates.
Wait, you don't know?
Oh, but you guys know
where
everything,
your mom
yeah?
is right now?
It's written in the book. You guys know everything.
Do you know where you are right now?
Do you know where you are right now?
Yeah, I'm at home, bro.
Cool, I'm at home, bro.
This guy's amazing.
I'd say I know that.
Guess you know.
You don't know that?
Yeah, I know that too. I'm at home.
Tobias,
Wait, what?
You do know. You claim
Yeah, but
that.
Tobias 80-90% of his home, right? So
Well, hold
it's
on,
fine to say
Tobias.
he's there. No, he doesn't know it. No, but no, he doesn't know if he knows. If he knows.
Do you think knowledge requires certainty? Tobias?
Do I think knowledge requires certainty? A certain amount of certainty in order to feel confident in that knowledge, yeah.
What do you say, like 80 to 90%?
How do you know that 80-90% is like the right range here? How do you know that?
But your question was how can you be certain?
No.
Of a
Do
claim.
you think knowledge requires certainty?
Knowledge in and of itself, no. I think you can have a good understanding of how something works without having full knowledge of it. I never claimed that.
Okay, well, wait. Tell me something that you know.
I don't know. I have a 10-inch cock. What about you?
Okay.
I know your mom, Andrew.
Yeah. Do you know that God doesn't exist?
I know her in the biblical sense.
No, but do you know that he does? Do you know that he does exist?
Yes. But do you know that he doesn't?
No, but you claim to know that he does. I don't claim that.
But wait, do you just believe that he doesn't?
I think there's insufficient evidence to suggest that he does.
Well, yeah. Well, why aren't you just an agnostic?
Because I view agnosticism as a sort of 50-50 stance, and I think there's a far higher chance that he doesn't exist than he does, but I don't claim that 89% doesn't exist.
What tilts it to be higher towards atheism?
The fact that I don't believe there's sufficient evidence to suggest one way in which this universe came about. I think it could be multiple possibilities, and I think that's just focusing on one possibility.
But why would that? Do you have an expectation that you would see certain evidences that you don't see? Is that the idea? Because why would you think just because you don't see evidence for God? I mean, it could be a deistic kind of God that just created the universe and kicked it off, walked away like an absentee father. How would you? Why are you saying that? Because you don't view any kind of empirical evidence or you don't see anything that would lead to a God, why is it the case that you think therefore God doesn't exist, or that it pushes forward towards atheism? Why wouldn't you just stay agnostic?
Because again, it's focusing on one conclusion, and I think there's zero compelling evidence to suggest that one conclusion is more compelling than any other human imagination-made reasoning for how this came about. So I think it's just as irrelevant as saying the Tooth Fairy created it.
But that wouldn't mean that atheism has any higher probability just because we can't narrow down some conclusion.
No, but it depends how you define atheism. I don't define atheism saying there is no. I don't think that's the modern consensus of the term atheism. I think atheism is saying the burden of proof is on the person making the claim. Atheism is stating that they think atheism is.
Then why don't I?
Atheism is not stating anything. Atheism is not a person. Fucking
yeah. Well, why can't I just say
it's like
theism?
Crimson Necklace.
Theism is just saying that I'm not convinced that atheism is true. And if you're going to make a claim against me, then you need to bear the burden. If you're saying that God doesn't exist, which you're not, you're just saying you're not convinced, well, I'll just say I'm not convinced that atheism is true.
But atheism isn't a belief system.
Atheism is a belief. So why can't I just say to you, Tobias, that I think that God, to me, it's some kind of, it's self-evident truth that God exists. And I haven't heard any good arguments against God. So I'm just going to maintain this position that you haven't convinced me that atheism is true. So therefore I'm a theist.
You're welcome to take that stance. I have nothing against that.
It's pretty lame though, right?
Yeah, it is pretty lame, Andrew. Super lame.
Yeah, it's a lame stance to take.
Yeah. The reason for that is because of the null hypothesis, right?
Well, what kind of...
Null hypothesis.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. No. But I'm just going to say... What kind of conversation can we have, Tobias, if both parties are doing the same thing?
Oh, I'm mainly here just to listen to arguments theists have.
I'm not talking about you in particular necessarily. I'm just saying in general. If theists and atheists did that, and that's all we did, everybody just, they bunkered down in their position and just said, well, I'm just not convinced of the opposing position. How would that work out? Do you think that would work very good dialectically? You think we'd have engaging conversations, like expressing reasons for and against?
Well, again, I think with atheism, they're not making the claim. So it's interesting for people like me to listen to what you guys have to say and how it is that you're convinced that this is how things came about. I find it entertaining. I find it interesting. I learn stuff. But again, atheism isn't a belief system. It's just stating they don't believe in one particular thing.
Hey, did you not hear him the first time, Andrew?
What?
What are you doing, Andrew?
Well, man,
Andrew is trouble. Black
Andrew,
in that photo.
Wait, I don't know why any theist would want to do that. Theists do that. Disingenuous if they do that.
Why?
It will now be clear that that's just a debate tactic because that's not really what they think Jesus exists. They think everything like that. And they just come to the debate and say, well, atheists, we're just going to copy you. You could.
but the point is,
that's what Andrew thinks they're doing.
The point is it's a response to what they're doing. He wants to herald the banner of atheism and kind of have that historical punch that there is no God. But then when you there's different ways of saying it. But when you
how dare you,
quit gerrymandering my words.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop gerrymandering my words. But
yeah, that's you're more DS than me now. You just got corrected on pronunciation by a fucking dyslexic animal.
DS in the guava sense or DS in the way that you are when you read?
Can I let Andrew say? Can you let Andrew finish what he was saying? Sorry.
Okay, I'm just saying that, Jacob, to me, is that this new atheist thing of saying I'm an atheist is just a way of having the historical philosophical definition punch, but then when you press them, it's I'm not convinced. And I find that to be very...
Yeah, but you know what, you're kind of like putting him in a bunch, like new atheists, like you put some label or some banner on him, like
yes.
He came in and that's all he did from the word go. Like I don't think he backtracked and said, oh, God doesn't exist, that's my strong position, then he pushed him, then he went to that. It's kind of like you're writing history, you didn't do that. So in philosophical discussions, you can have situations like, oh, there's that line thing, right, where my pastor does, where he claims that he can show that an infinite past is nonsensical. And my past doesn't have to take a certain stance saying that, oh, an infinite past, it really is true. He just says, well, these things that Craig is basing his claim on, they don't seem to be good enough. And my past claims, I don't know either way. So you can do that. That's a valid philosophical way to argue. You don't have to say, oh no, because I want to take a strong stance and saying God exists. The other guy has to say God doesn't exist, so I can. So, no. You don't need to do that for valid philosophical discussion.
I don't think that's right, Jacob. So
we should play Concrete's game. Did that happen or not? My example with the Mapas and Craig. And Jacob's right. Andrew, no. Yeah, those are.
Yeah, also, they're not just saying it is unlikely that it exists. They're also saying that the probability of that being the case is extremely low as well. It's not like, oh, you might 50%, you might be right, Andrew. 50%, you might be wrong. Atheists are saying that there's probably a 0.1% chance that you're right.
Well, wait a second though, because you're also saying. So, Jacob, the reason I have a problem with what you're saying is because, look, it is the case that he's not just saying that I'm not convinced. I mean, that's not fair to just say that's all he has to discharge, because it is the case, because there's nothing there, right? It is the case that to make that claim, to even make the claim in the first place, you're saying that you have surveyed the evidence to you've done your due diligence, and you've come to a conclusion that it's not sufficient to convince you that God exists. Well, if that's true, and Piper's good at pointing this out, then he needs to give defense. He needs to give a reason as to why he wasn't convinced by these various arguments that have been around for millennia. And you can't just say,
you need to present the arguments. You need to present the arguments.
You can take it
Andrew, you need to present the arguments. You need to present compelling arguments.
That's what I was about to say. You can take it one at a time. Is it the Kalam? Then he'll give you his reason why he doesn't buy that.
Yeah.
Start bringing them out one by one. Then he'll do it. He's
Well,
not saying he's not going to do it.
I think the thing is, Jacob, is that when I say, why do you not believe? He can say, well, I just don't think the evidence has been compelling. And they typically leave it at that. But it's like they just said.
You don't understand why that's just repeating that you don't believe them. That's like the same thing.
Yeah, in the same way saying I don't believe in the tooth fairy or the spaghetti monster.
Not saying, no. Saying, why don't you believe it? And your response is, I'm not convinced. Just tells you the same thing. You don't believe it.
Yeah. And you're not giving any kind of, there's no content to interact with there, and it's not my job to drum it out. If we're having a conversation, it's kind of lame to just sit there as the judge. And I'm not saying you. I'm not putting this towards you, Tobias. I'm just saying generally speaking. It's kind of lame to just sit there in the judge seat, like as they say, God in the dock or whatever. You're sitting there and you're going to evaluate and you're going to say, well, you prove it to me, and I'm going to tell you all that's wrong. I'm just going to discredit everything you throw at me, it's very much more easy to do that.
Andrew, it's badly right? Wait. What does the kind of that kind of low priors argument that Enos runs? What does that do? What that does is puts it back into it's an argument, but in the end, the job of that argument is to put the ball back in the court of the theists, saying, well, before looking at any evidence, it looks like your side is worse. So have you got anything to overturn that? The ball's back in your court, and then you have to start looking at the Kalam, the Fajr, and then you reply.
No, but Jacob, if somebody thinks that just given the sheer mass of adherence to God, and they have these intuitions from very early, like myself, and just say, you know what, this is just properly basic, and it's going to be the case that you need to give some argumentation to show me why what I believe is so self-evident, it's axiomatic, it's just base level, intuitive. There's nothing. I don't need to give you an argument as to why it's true. You need to give me an argument as to why it's not true. I mean, it's vanishingly small as far as a worldwide population. And it's like, if you want to talk about like what it is that should happen.
I don't think it is small, bro. I think the percentage is actually
it's irrelevant.
Exponentially.
That point is completely irrelevant.
It is relevant. Why does he get to why does he get to have, why do the atheists get to assume that atheism is true and that the only one making a claim are the theists? Why is that?
Well, I already said, because the atheists are the ones making the claim.
Yeah. No, look, do I need to say, look,
Andrew, it's just a null hypothesis. Like, it's, you know,
But the thing, can I just say, I don't come into rooms like this disrespectfully. Like can I just finish my sentence, Alex? Andrew, sorry. I'm very aware that there are some extremely intelligent religious people around, and I'm open ears, man. I want to hear you guys. I learn as well. You know, I learn as well. I don't come in here as like a troll. I don't agree with atheists that do that. I'm not that sort of atheist.
Right, so Andrew, it's like an epistemic standard, right, for a lot of people that like a claim or something, or like something that's like said to exist, right, is assumed not to exist unless there's evidence for it. That's the null hypothesis.
Yeah, okay, unless there's evidence.
Yeah, but who gives a shit, Miller?
What do you mean, who gives a shit?
Wait a second.
He's saying it sounds good, but it doesn't carry any weight other than the people who give a shit.
No, but that's why one side has more of a burden. It's pretty obvious.
Miller, does somebody need to give? Do I need to give arguments as to why the
Okay, why should we accept that principle? Go ahead.
You don't have to accept that principle.
Oh, okay, so
okay, but Miller,
you're making the claim.
Miller, why do people need to give arguments as to why the sun? Hold on. Why do people not have to give arguments as to why the sun does not exist? Why can't I just say, look, you know, I'm sorry, the sun exists. Do I need to give arguments that the sun exists?
No, I guess not. Like not in all contexts.
There's sufficient evidence to suggest the sun does exist.
Yeah, but that's
sufficient evidence. The thing he's quibbling with.
Because it can be scientifically verified. It can be tested consistently.
You test the sun.
Yeah, that's not the only way.
We can test heat. We can test heat waves. We can test particles. We can test distance. We can test size.
We don't test it, bro. We see it. We know it's there, bro.
Yeah, you can feel it. You can see it. We need it to survive. I mean, come on, man.
Science isn't the only way to truth. Okay. So, because if you say that it is, how do you prove that statement? So, like, it isn't the case that you need to be able to scientifically show something for it to be the case. Okay, you can conclude something based on. There's other ways. There's the rational discourse and different things that you can come to conclusions apart from empirical evidence, or at least in that way. You don't need to be able to scientifically verify, observe, and repeat all this stuff. That's not the case.
Who does that other than scientists? I mean, if it's a scientist's job to confirm scientific studies, and you're saying that these things can be tested without science, who are the people doing the research on this coming up with these conclusions you're speaking?
Wait, what?
What are you talking about? That's not what I was saying.
You said there are other ways other than science to determine whether or not something exists, right?
Yeah, well, I'm asking, do you think that science is the only? Yes, that is what I'm saying. But do you think that science is the only way to come to conclusions, like the only way to find truth?
I think it's the best method we currently have.
Okay, best method. Okay, that means you leave it open in other ways. So
that's what I'm asking you. That's what I'm asking you. Other than scientists, who would you rely on to deliver deliver conclusions on things that can be determined without science? That was my question.
Grandma, my mom, you, Andrew.
Intuition.
Science. Intuition.
Yeah,
I didn't do any science when I looked. I just looked at the clock and I was like.
Okay, so what are these discoveries that you, me, Grandma, and whoever else are? What are these discoveries you're speaking of? What are they?
I don't know. Maybe just telling me how to make a cookie.
Okay.
So
what Miller's saying is controversial.
Yeah, it's
not controversial. It's just not something that we have to appeal to, and it seems like he's trying to use it as something we must, bow down to, and we're subject to the null hypothesis.
Yeah. So help me out, Deepak. If I say the sun exists, and why don't I have a burden to prove to somebody who says the sun doesn't exist? Why don't I have a burden?
because that person lives in a shared sort of I don't know, physical and cultural context with you, where you can presume that they already
Precisely, they experience it whether they have.
Exactly what? I haven't finished the sentence. I don't know exactly what.
You already figured out what you're saying. Like, you don't have to like be elaborate.
No. Please. Let me finish. Don't interrupt, please.
That's fine. Sorry, Deepak. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, look. Okay. Let me put it this way. Like, the fact that you said exactly means that, like, I don't know if you understood what I said, because, like, I'm confused why you would say exactly. Right? Like, if it's true that so if it's true, so what I'm saying is that it's the reason you don't have a burden to explain it to them is because they know the same evidence that you know, right? That the sun exists.
Okay. And what I'm saying is, in cultures where the majority is theistic, they don't need to be convinced. They have the shared culture of understanding that it's self-evident that God exists, and anybody who opposes that is the one that bears the burden. That's why I'm saying, like, tell me the asymmetry.
Yeah, but I don't see it. Symmetry. Okay, the asymmetry is here. So then, what the if you're like extending the analogy to what's happening here, right? Like Tobias is like I don't know, like Helen Keller, right? She hasn't seen the sun, or maybe like maybe she lived her life, and so like basically he doesn't have that shared evidence that you can already appeal to, right? It goes without saying. So for him to believe that the sun exists, right? Like, you have to find some way of like giving him that empirical evidence, right? Some other way of doing that.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about the burden, though. And I'm saying, why, Andrew? But why is it? Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. Let Deepak go.
No, go ahead.
No, because look, I mean, from Tobias's perspective, from his epistemic like standpoint, right? Like he doesn't know, he's not aware of any evidence of the sun that God exists, and he has a somewhat low prior, right? That like God exists.
Can I just say
so? That's enough for him to like.
Why does his low prior get to place the burden on me, given the fact that I have the majority on my side? Not that that really matters, but I'm just saying the majority's on my side. So empirically, it looks like people are aware of what's true by my lights. And somebody who wants to come across and say,
if you want to say that like the fact that other people believe that God exists, right? Is some evidence that God in fact does exist. I don't know.
That's not what I mean. That's not what I mean. I mean in the same way.
You're saying the prior can't change because other people believe things, right? What other people's beliefs are evidence, right?
Well, no. What I'm saying is the theist has a prior probability of God existing. Very, very like we're saying.
Okay.
Like,
no, but the whole point, Andrew, is that like
I don't get it.
He's just defending the evasiveness of this guy.
Like it's a pretty standard like atheist approach, right? Like reasoning to say that like the reason that they think God is unlikely to exist is because the prior probability of God as a metaphysical thesis is low, and there's no evidence that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So why is that? Like, I think I don't disagree with anything.
Andrew's sole goal here is to say, claim that it just seems like there is a burden. Like there is a burden if you're making a claim, and if atheism is the claim X, then you have a burden to prove X.
I see that abstract. Yeah. Okay, so you're saying the atheist needs to justify the low prior? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Why not?
Sure. Yeah, but that's the whole point.
Fair enough. I mean, I don't think that's too hard, but yeah.
Yeah, it's very easy to do. A and like B, like there's Andrew's like point about how the amount of people in a society can like tell us where the burden is on a claim.
I
right?
didn't say that was a major part. I'm just saying that's something.
Well, that's just silly. Like the whole point is, if someone's giving you the low priors argument, right? They're also going to be giving you like some understanding of like how they like assess probabilities, right?
Yeah, but
it's going to be applicable. It's going to be applicable.
Just get to the low priors argument. I like to hear somebody.
But that's just an argument. That's the
and he
point.
hasn't given that argument.
No. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
But what? Like, I feel like no one knows what anyone else is even arguing for, because it's like no one's saying things that are necessarily wrong, but it's just like, are they actually directed towards the things that the other people are saying?
Yeah. Okay.
So
fair,
like,
but Timothy, hopefully you can help me.
To be honest, I'm not saying you're like you're a culprit. I'm saying